And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. And as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we have a delightful show for you today. We're going to talk to playwright Jacques Lamarre. And Jacques, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate your time.
I'm so delighted to be here virtually. Next time, I will be there in person, I swear.
I know we would love that. Next time, let's do that.
That would be terrific. I love your area of the state.
Good, wonderful. Well, listen, as you and I had talked before we started taping, I like to introduce the viewers to the guests and their background. So why don't you take some time and tell us about yourself?
Okay. Well, I am one of 10 children. That I was born outside of Philadelphia. My family moved to outside the Boston area in Acton, Massachusetts, and then ended up in New Hampshire. So I kind of tell people that I'm from New Hampshire, but it's not really entirely true. I was there basically third grade up through college, and growing up in New Hampshire, there was a professional theater company that no longer exists called the American Stage Festival in Milford, New Hampshire. It was a summer stock theater. My parents were subscribers, and they would take me on their subscription nights, and I would get to usher and see the shows for free. I think maybe the first kind of grown-up play that I saw was Dracula, and fell in love with theater. Started working in the box office. I had an ice cream scooping job that I was tired of, and my brother had been working at the stage festival, and he said, I'm going to quit my job. And I said, I'll take it. And that's how my theater career started. And I did that throughout my college years. It was the perfect summer job because it was summer stock, so it was always waiting for me when I got back. I went to Providence College, and while I was at Providence College, I worked in the box office there and also took my one and only playwriting class, and got to do a few scenes. And at the stage festival, I asked if I could write some material for the children's theater program, which was actually adults performing for kids, and that's how I dipped into playwriting. Is that enough? Have I brought you up to speed?
We've got a full show here, so I'm going to keep on asking you questions. I hope you don't mind.
That's fine. That's fine. Just scratching the surface.
Exactly. You and I had also talked about performing. Did you ever think about becoming an actor instead of becoming a playwright?
I did, and I had probably two sort of formative and traumatic theater experiences. Growing up in Amherst, New Hampshire, the theater was in Milford, but I lived in Amherst, New Hampshire, and we would go to school in Milford. There was the Amherst PTA production of, I can't even remember what the name of the show was. And I went and I auditioned, and I thought I did just a fantastic job and not only did not get the part that I wanted, didn't get a part, period. So that, of course, was soul crushing. And then I did the Amherst PTA production of The Music Man. I got cast in the boys band after going out for the role of Winthrop, which is a great part for a boy. And I had one line in The Music Man during the Wells Fargo wagon number. My family had an extremely rare vacation. Being one of 10 kids, we didn't go on vacation very often because it was too much of a production. And so we had gone to Florida, and I missed one rehearsal, and they took my one line away. And I have been bitter ever since and have not trod the boards as an actor in any real sense.
When did you decide that you wanted to be a playwright? First off, let's enhance the audience's understanding of what does a playwright mean?
Okay. Well, any play really, beyond an idea starts with a script, and the script has to be written by someone. That can be an individual. That can be a number of people. If it's a musical, it's oftentimes informed not just by the person who is the book writer or the librettist, but also the person who is writing music, creating lyrics. Sometimes they're all the same people. Sometimes there are separate people. I'm currently been working on a musical with a person who is I'm doing the book, he's doing the music and lyrics. But basically, the playwright is the person who has the story in their head and puts it on paper, and then there's a whole process of trying to get your vision onto a stage, and that can take a bunch of different paths. But hopefully you connect with artists who can realize your vision or make it even better than you thought it could be. But a play is to me easier to write than a novel, because I can just say, it's a beautiful day, and a director and designers have to figure out how to make that look like a beautiful day on stage. I just have to say it's a beautiful day. Some playwrights can get very, very specific, but I tend to be what's called a lazy playwright. So I generally focus on in my writing on plot, dialogue, characters, which are the bare bones of theater.
When did you decide that you wanted to pursue the dream or the path of being a playwright? Was there a certain time in your life that things changed for you?
I don't know, this noise.
I'm sorry?
There was a bunch of noise, it seems. Oh, now I'm hearing myself.
There you go. Go ahead.
Are we doing a take? Okay. So when I was working at the American Stage Festival, as I mentioned, there was a young company that had put on plays they had to put on, I think, about 6 shows every summer, and those required original scripts. Sometimes you can acquire scripts from other means, but they created 6 original plays every year, and oftentimes they were written by a small handful of people. And having grown up going to these shows, before I started ushering, I'd gone to young company shows as an audience member. And then during ushering, falling in love with plays, thought, I want to give this a try. And so I asked the artistic director of the young company, a man named Austin Titchener, who has gone on to have quite a bit of fame as a member of the Reduced Shakespeare Company. If anyone's ever seen the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged, he has had an instrumental role in that company since they not since they very started, but he's still with them. Anyway, so I asked him if I could write a play, and he said, "Prove to me that you can write a play." And I took 3 O. Henry stories and stitched them together, decided it was going to be a musical with no music experience. I gave him the script. He came back and he said, "Yes, you can write a play, but it won't be this one." And he assigned me Rapunzel, and it was a touring production. And for my first, play ever, it went to the North Shore Music Theater, played in Manchester, New Hampshire, and Nashua, New Hampshire. And then they brought it back to Milford, New Hampshire, I think the following year. So my first play was a hit. And then my second play was The Pied Piper of Hamelin, which was not a hit. And so I had my first success and my first flop in short order.
Tell us about the play that you're doing now. I know that you're about to perform a production in April. Is that correct?
That is correct. Despite my saying that I am not an actor, and I am not an actor, when I describe this on Facebook, I say that I am performing my new piece. It's a piece that is specifically written for me to perform. It's a comedic travelogue. For 7 years, I worked at the Mark Twain House and Museum as the director of marketing and special programs. And anyone who kind of seriously knows their Twain knows that he had terrific successes in his life writing comedic travelogues. His first major work was The Innocents Abroad, and it was his most successful book during his lifetime. And two coworkers of mine from the Twain House and I would go on road trips, what we would call craycations, to destinations that have a concentration of bonkers tourism attractions. And so on April 6th, which is a Saturday, as a benefit for Heartbeat Ensemble, which is a small theater group, social justice minded in Hartford, I will be doing two performances of my latest play, which is called Florida State of Confusion. And it is about my 2019, therefore pre-pandemic vacation in Florida and the places that I visited. And it's not just me talking, it's also a kind of a slideshow of my vacation with over 200 images.
Okay, let's hold that thought and take a break. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Connecticut has lost $35 million in gross earnings taxes because cable TV providers are losing customers.
Yet cable companies continue to enjoy a tax exemption on their equipment that their telecom competitors don't get.
At the same time, the telecoms don't pay gross earnings tax.
This doesn't make sense.
It's time to level the playing field.
Make everyone pay their fair share.
Please support sustainable funding for digital equity,
Community access,
and the CTN network.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and I hope that you're enjoying the show. My conversation continues on with Jacques Lamarre, who's a playwright. And Jacques, let's not forget the website, JacquesLamarrePlaywright.com. Tell us about what the viewer will find if they go there.
I am not as good keeping up with my website as I should be, but I do encourage people to visit it. It doesn't get into necessarily the individual shows that I've done as much as talks about what I've written that year or what has been produced that year. Not everything I write, unfortunately, gets produced, and that's the case for a lot of playwrights. But it gives you a rundown basically by year of what I wrote that was produced, whether or not it was a play, a revival of a play, a world premiere, or material that I've written for a drag performer, which I've been doing quite a bit of for 20 years. And I have a blog that I don't keep updated very well, but and they can learn a little bit more about me there as well.
You're mentioning a drag performer, and I think that people will think, oh my goodness, he's doing plays, but he's a playwright, but he's also doing drag as well. Tell us about that performer and what you do for her.
Okay, yeah, I want to make it clear that I don't necessarily do the drag.
That's true.
I put words in the mouths of men who are dressed like women. At this point, I actually write for a number of drag performers, but that's really because of a very fortunate association I have with someone in the drag field who is considered, to use a drag term, legendary. And her name is Varla Jean Merman. Real name is Jeffrey Roberson. And I had first seen Varla perform at Wigstock, which was a big outdoor Labor Day drag festival, and dozens of performers throughout the day. So you really have to make an impression when you only have 5 minutes on that stage. And Varla blew me away. And I wanted to go back and see her in another, in a full piece that featured her. So I went down and saw another show and then another show. And then I went to Provincetown and saw that she had started her very first summer residency in Provincetown that has continued for over 26 years now, I think. And I told a friend that she had to go see Varla. And then she told Michael Wilson, who was the artistic director of Hartford Stage, that he needed to go see Varla. And he did and fell in love because Varla is incredibly funny and has an amazing voice. And the comedic timing is fantastic and so creative. And so he cast her in Charles Ludlam's The Mystery of Irma Vep, which is a quick change show that involves drag, but actually would also give Jeffrey his first out of drag role on stage. And so this artist that I admired tremendously came to do The Mystery of Irma Vep at Hartford Stage when I was the marketing director. And so I kind of steered clear of her because I didn't want to be fangirling, as they say. And a friend who worked there said, you really should ask Jeffrey out to lunch because I think he's lonely. And, when you're doing a two-person show and you're in a different city that you've never, been to before, even though you're in a two-person show, you're spending all that time with this person. So I invited him out to lunch, and we hit it off. And I admitted that I had been a big fan, and we shared some laughs. And he asked if I would help write his upcoming show, and that was in, I want to say 2004 or 5, and we are currently working on our 20th show, which will premiere in Provincetown this summer.
Wow, that's amazing. You and I met through Buzz Engine. Why don't we talk about Buzz Engine? What do you do there?
Sure. I'm the Chief Creative Officer for Buzz Engine, which is a small marketing and events agency based in the Hartford area. But because of my experience in the arts and culture sector of Connecticut and tourism, I almost exclusively work with arts, culture, and tourism clients. And so my roster includes doing PR with Hartford Stage. We work with the Bushnell, work for Connecticut Ballet, Connecticut Virtuosi Chamber Orchestra, Charter Oak Cultural Center, Heartbeat Ensemble, Outfilm Connecticut, which is the LGBTQ Film Festival, Nightfall, Hartford Fringe Festival, Fuse Theater Company, and there are others whose names are escaping me, but Seven Angels Theater in Waterbury, shame on me, and also some out of state, including the Greater Boston Stage Company. So we help them sell tickets. That's the goal. We help kind of interpret the shows in terms of how we put them out into the community via social media, public relations, advertising, and what have you. And so it's allowed me, because of my experience working at Hartford Stage, I worked at Yale Repertory Theater, Hartford Symphony Orchestra, the Mark Twain House, and Hartford Stage. Or did I mention Hartford Stage already? TheaterWorks, Hartford. It seems like I've bounced around a lot. But the nice thing is that a number of places where I worked before are now clients of what I do. And I get to communicate my love of Connecticut's arts, heritage, tourism, culture, through means like this.
When people think about being a playwright themselves, they're probably listening saying, oh my goodness, what did he do to become a playwright? You mentioned schooling. Are there organizations? How does somebody begin becoming a playwright and getting their work out there? What would your advice be?
My first advice, because I mean, there are places that do offer playwriting classes. I know that Hartford Stage offers one occasionally. There might be some adult education programs that offer playwriting classes. But for me, I only took one playwriting class in college. To me, the place where my playwriting education really began was going to see shows and then reading scripts. And a big motivator, and I know that this is kind of a horrible thing to say, but a big motivator for me, having worked in theater for so long, was I would stand in the back of the theater sometimes and be like, I could write something better than this. And then you tell yourself, well, stop talking about it and actually do it. If you have the idea, sit down and do it. And you don't have to necessarily, spend money on an expensive playwriting software that will help you line things up. You could pick up a copy of almost any play. For me, Tennessee Williams, Eugene O'Neill, modern playwrights, David Lindsay Abaire, Teresa Rebeck, Sarah Rule. I love Sarah Rule. And just see how they structure their stories and make sure that when you're writing a play that you have interesting characters, that the action of the play starts in one place and takes you on a journey. And that, if you're like me, I aim to be funny. If you're trying to get a serious point across, making sure that that is a mission accomplished by the end of the play. But, anyone can be a playwright. To me, the challenge is once you've got a play, getting your play on stage, because a play sitting in your computer or on your drawer is not a vision fulfilled.
You're mentioning playwright and theater, but some people will probably think about film, television, commercials, video. Does that translate into other mediums? Did you ever think about doing anything else?
I have dabbled. I did write a screenplay for Varlagine, a movie that was filmed called Varlagine and the Mushroom Heads. And, I approached it like a play, and then she had to take it and turn it into a screenplay. Screenplays are a bit of a different animal. Obviously, you're still dealing with character, plot, and transitions and dialogue. The big thing is, unless it's a certain type of film, there is a lot of things that need to be included in terms of, is this an interior scene? Is this an exterior scene? Are you cutting away? Are you doing a close-up? When an audience is sitting in a theater, you can't force a close-up on the audience. And you can have two characters talk for 10 minutes and not have it be boring unless the writing's boring. In TV, or film, they're constantly cutting back and forth between, they're telling you who to pay attention to. And so for me, I'm a creature of the theater. I don't have any desire to really be a screenwriter. For a lot of playwrights who have a degree of success, it is oftentimes a calling to work on screenplays because you make a lot more money than you do in the theater.
We are starting to run out of time, but my thought is, what does your calendar look like? Do you have other things planned for 2024?
Well, again, I've got my show April 6th, and I would love to see people there. It's called Florida State of Confusion at heartbeatensemble.org. You can get more information. If you are a big Trumper, you may not enjoy the show. I'm just going to put that caveat there.
Okay.
What was that?
I said, okay.
Okay. I mean, we'd be happy to take your money, but you might not enjoy yourself. And then the new show with Varla Jean Merman is going to be running up in Provincetown all summer. Haven't announced the title yet, so I can't share it. But if you go to Varla Jean online or varlajean.com, I think you can, or Google her name, you can find out. I also write for another drag performer up in Provincetown called Misconception. And she is doing her movie tribute show this summer in Provincetown. And I am one of the original collaborators on TheaterWorks Hartford's Christmas on the Rocks, which has become a Hartford holiday tradition. It's now, I believe, in its 12th or 13th year. Last year's version, I had 3 pieces in it, 2 co-written and 1 solo. It is fabulous to be part of that holiday tradition, and I'm hoping to have another Connecticut area premiere, but I can't talk about it because I haven't finished writing it yet, so the theater hasn't said yes.
Okay. Well, Jacques, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on, and again, next time I will come down your way.
Good, that would be wonderful. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.